Hi, everyone, and welcome to another A&B Horror Movies video. I'm Aaron,
I'm Ben.
and today we are joined by a very special guest, Chris Wesley Moore. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, everybody.
So, Chris, you wear multiple hats, as I've noticed. So you are a director, you're an actor, you're a writer, you're a producer. You founded the CWM Entertainment production company, and you primarily write, produce, and create horror movies, which is awesome. Ben and I love horror movies.
Oh, good, good.
Yes. So the first question we have, you have many films that you've produced that we've seen. Children of Sin is your newest film that's out right now.
That's right.
It's available on Tubi, which I think is where I watched it. I guess my first question is, how did you get the inspiration for Children of Sin? Where did the idea come from?
Well, I was raised in the Deep South, and you hear a lot of interesting things when you're raised in the South. There's a lot of lovely people down here. I don't want to say everyone's bad, but there's a very vocal minority of people who I think are a little certifiable because they're a little too excited about religion and telling people that they're going to go to hell because of this or that. They will stand on the corner and bring their own kids out and say, you're going to go to hell because you're at a bar tonight. It's like, what the hell is that about?
Living your life, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they will find a way to tell you that you're going to go to hell for anything. And a few people, when I was younger, would say that, you're going to go to hell if you're gay, but you can pray it away if you go to one of these, special camps where they're going to try to turn you, from gay to straight, and it's a complete hoax. It's ridiculous. It doesn't work, and so I just thought there's something sort of very disturbing about this entire thing because it's just so ridiculous that anyone would think that it would work. And I thought, well, there's a horror film in there somewhere, and I probably got that idea when I don't know, I was in Catholic school at the time, probably high school, and I just thought this would be a great idea for a movie, and then here we are, like, I don't know, 15 plus years later. So it took a little while, but
I will say it's a good premise for a horror film. I think it works really well. I think you did a nice job executing it.
Thank you.
And it's not just gay to straight. It's any troubled individual that they view as troubled, and they end up in the Abraham house, which is what it's called in the film, which is a special kind of hell for those who have seen it. I think that's a nice way to describe it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I didn't want to just do people that were gay. I wanted to show that it's not just gay people that they're discriminating against. It's people from all walks of life. Kids that are on drugs or talk back or are pregnant out of wedlock, because they will find any sin and try to say that if you just do this, if you just pay them this much money, they will give you the tools to get back on the right track and all this stuff. And I just thought there's something so ridiculous about that. So it's a frightening concept, but in some ways there's also a little bit of dark comedy there, a little bit of satire, because it's inherently ridiculous.
Yes. And I just have one more question, Ben. Then I'll let you jump in. I don't
No, go for it.
Talk forever here. And one thing I really liked about it, and I don't want to give too much away about the film, is that the two individuals running the house are actually very troubled themselves. So that the front, sort of their facade, you start to see they're just as troubled as the guests. And I think that was a really nice duality. And I'm sure that was probably something you wanted to do right from the beginning, right? To make them
absolutely
dimensional and
because
own demons, I guess.
I feel like people that do this kind of thing, I mean, they have their own problems too, obviously, if they're going to do this. And I just wanted to highlight that. I didn't want them to just be sort of the one-dimensional sort of, typical people that you would find in a film like this. And I wanted to show that there's reasonings why people go into cults like this, because they're very lost and they think it's going to help them find their way, and it never really does. And it's just it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Ben, you want to jump in? You got something?
Yeah. So obviously we just sort of basically said this film goes into some dark issues that are unfortunately still present in places and in this day and age. So how much from when you read the script to the story, did it change as you was filming it? Did you put the extra sort of problems in there, or was it always? But well, basically just asking how much did it change from when you writ the script to filming?
Well, I'm trying to remember. The draft that we ended up shooting basically stayed the same. There was there were a few issues with like certain locations that we had to change, or there was a casting problem. We had cast one person to play the abusive stepfather, and he had to drop out. He broke his leg like the day of the shoot,
Oh
so we had
no!
to go and like find
Oh my gosh.
someone else. So when you've written it and thought about it for a certain actor, you have to change that. So all of a sudden you're like, I can't just be like, hello, new actor, here's what I wanted this actor to do. You do this, because they're not going to respond, because they're not the same person. So you have to find another way to get through to them and have them make it their own. But I think the script was basically the same, although I think in the first draft there was I think Emma and Jackson were living with their mom and an aunt. I think the aunt is the one that got her into the cult.
All right.
So there was going to be a whole thing there, and then the aunt kind of got combined with Mary Esther a bit, and I thought we don't really need the aunt now.
Or with Mary Esther, yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest change, I think, but most of it was the same.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Mary Esther, which is played by Joanne Robinson, who was fantastic in this role.
Yeah,
she's
she
so
was really
great.
Oh, it was amazing.
Fantastic. I love her.
guess from a writer's perspective, and initially, what was it like writing? I mean, because she is an evil character. I mean, she has human traits, of course, like everybody does, and you start to see those. But what was it like writing her and then working with Robinson to film, to film and bring the character to life? What was that like, sort of the process?
I mean, it sounds kind of sick to say it was a joy because she's such a terrible person, but it was just like trying to come up with this horrible character, and what I wanted to do was I didn't want her to be this sort of typical sort of stern, kind of nurse Ratched type who just right from the beginning is just very hard and cold. I wanted her to at first kind of seem sort of happy and joyous, and this is something that brings her a lot of joy. She really thinks that she is saving these people and that she's going to get this big reward, and that's joyful for her. It's not this prim and proper, buttoned up, very serious kind of you're all going to hell thing that we see all the time. And because I kept flashing back to Piper, Laurie, and Carrie, and how that story has been told and retold a million times. But in my mind, the only person that has gotten that part right has been her, because she found this joy in what she was doing. This brought her so much life and enthusiasm. And I thought, that's really scary. That is really frightening. And so I kind of thought about that. And the great thing with Joanne was that she just got it immediately. And she was like, there's a lot of humor in this too. And I was like, thank you. I'm so glad that you get it. Because I think a lot of people would have just played it very straight and very, cold and reserved. And of course, she does have those moments, but she found so much humor and heart and was just a joy to work with. She's just so much fun, and we just had a blast. It was
I bet you could kind of tell. I mean, it must have been really nice working with her as a director, but also because you play Hank in the movie itself, so you're her nephew. Which is worked really well, I thought. And we try not to spoil movies too much, but there is this one line where I think she says, "Jesus is coming for me." And then that moment, which is probably my favorite moment in the entire movie, the look on her face, and I don't want to say what's happening, but perhaps there's a realization that might not be true, or she's seeing something even more disturbing about what awaits her. And I guess my question is, as a filmmaker, because like I said, I love that moment when you're filming moments like that in the moment. Can you tell like this is going to be a standout scene in the film?
Yeah.
And
I
was it
mean,
like that when you were doing it with this movie?
that was a really interesting scene to shoot because everything that took place on the last day of Abraham House in the film.
Mhm.
So from that breakfast scene to that last bit there was all shot on the last day of the shoot of that particular location. So at the end, it was
Okay.
getting kind of rushed, and I was like, I think we're losing the light. We have to just hurry up and do this. And what happened was once we got to that part, I remember her hitting the ground, and we shot the scene in slow mo. And I remember her just going like that, and this light just kind of hit her face from the trees. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is amazing. This has been blessed. And she gave this full range of expression. I was like, this is my favorite shot of the movie. I was so excited. I was like, you couldn't have planned this. It was so
Yes. Oh,
fantastic.
it was perfect. And I agree. Like I said, I loved that moment. That
Thank
was a
you.
standout moment. Nicely done. It all came together well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. So I've watched a couple of your films, and you're in both of them. I watched one we just talked about, Children of Sin, and I watched Stranger Among Us.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Among the Living, sorry, Stranger Among the Living.
Don't worry,
And
everybody always gets that name wrong. I should have come up with a better title. Everybody gets it wrong every time. Everybody.
I do apologise.
No, everybody does it. You're completely fine. It's my fault, really.
You're in like I got to watch both of those. You're in both of them. And did you, when you was writing the story and the characters, was you writing yourself into those to play those, or did you have somebody else in mind but ended up doing it yourself?
Well, the thing is that every time I write a film, I write a part for myself, but it's usually like a part like the reporter on TV, and it's like a little tiny cameo.
Yeah.
And inevitably, there ends up being one part that I just cannot cast, and that ends up being the part that I play, and
Okay.
it's completely unintentional. Jarvis in a Stranger Among the Living, I don't know why nobody got his sort of manic energy right.
I thought he was
And
quite good. Yeah.
yeah, he was a little like he always seems like he's on coke. And so like nobody got that. And I was like, oh, this just isn't gonna work. I guess I'll just play that part. And then with Children of Sin, actually Hank was originally supposed to be a much older man, and they were going to be a couple. So I was picturing him as like 50s to 60s, because I thought it would be so much more poignant if this guy was kind of towards the end of his life, and he's got this one last chance to be himself.
Yeah.
And it would be so much more dramatically impactful if that was the case. But what happened was these people would audition, and they would be great. I think there were 4 or 5 guys that I had lined up who were going to be spectacular, and they gave these great auditions. I offered them the parts, gave them the script. They were so excited, and then they read the script, and they were like, I don't think I can do this. And I was like, what's the problem here? And they were like, well, there's that scene with the sin stick, and I just don't know. And
yes.
I guess maybe I had written it in the script as being a little more explicit than it actually is, because in the film you don't really see it. You just kind of hear it a bit. And I guess they got scared and were like, I can't do that. I can't take my penis out and have someone smack it with a whip. Like, I'm not going to do that. I was like, oh man. So then I had to change it to the nephew and come in there. I was going to play the televangelist. That's who I wanted to play. That's who I wrote part 4. Was me.
Cool.
And I couldn't do that. I was really mad because I wanted to play that part.
Well, you're right. You don't see anything in that scene, but it is quite profound and shocking in a way.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling Ben earlier that I was actually watching that on the elliptical at the gym, and I thought there were people around me. I was like, "Oh boy, I might have to jump ahead in this scene." But
where's this gonna go?
You actually didn't see anything, so we were we were safe. There have been some Shudder films that I have to turn off.
Oh, quickly. I can only imagine watching that on the elliptical at the gym. There's so many movies I'd be terrified to watch on that thing.
Oh yeah, it's exciting.
Oh, man.
But I mean, I think no one's really paying any attention.
You've nearly fallen off.
I
I'm
did nearly,
sure.
no, that was on the treadmill. I did almost fall off watching Caveat on Shudder.
Oh, oh wow.
Scariest bunny ever,
Oh
ever.
man.
So I
Wow.
do want to, yeah, we digress here. I do want to talk a little bit about Blessed Are the Children,
Okay.
because first, I loved it.
Oh,
What an
thank you.
awesome slasher.
You.
My first question is, so there's an unexpected twist in it, which I didn't see coming, and it seemed almost like an homage to Dress to Kill.
Oh yeah.
Why did you intend to do that right from the beginning, like drop a bombshell like that? Because it was,
I'm trying to think.
I was like,
It's
wow,
been
I didn't see that coming.
it's been so long that I can't remember how I think I just got really sick of the character and I was like, I need to kill them off. I don't know. I was like, where can she go? And I
Well, she
think in the
doesn't go
first,
anywhere
I mean,
after
she
that
doesn't
moment.
keep going, but I just thought like, I think her story's been resolved.
Mhm.
And then I was like, well, what can I do? Like, I don't want to spend time with her for the rest of the movie because there's nowhere for her to go. And I thought, well, there was that movie Psycho and Dress to Kill, and I was like, maybe I could pull that
Oh, it was so
trick
good.
out.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, that was really really fun to make. I look back on it now, and there's some parts I kind of cringe at because it's the first movie of mine that I kind of claim. I mean, I've done some other stuff that's not really.
Yes.
I was like a kid practically, so. But there's some stuff I wish I could have kind of cleaned up a bit, just pacing wise and stuff. But I'm glad that I made the film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
There were some touches of Halloween in there.
Oh yeah,
Definitely Black Christmas with the
Mhm.
phone calls.
Yeah.
Having just watched Black Christmas a few times
Oh, it's
last
so good.
month.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah, of course, same here. And I have one other question for you, because one of the scenes in that, they're in a closet with all these VHS tapes, which
Oh
I
yeah.
thought was a very nice touch. I wrote some notes here: Demented, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, The Fog, Prom Night. Oh, it was like,
Mhm.
what a collection.
Yeah.
So Ben and I are both avid collectors. How
Mhm.
do you feel about physical media and collecting?
We might be here all night,
I
guys.
think I
I
can
don't know.
see some movies
Uh,
behind you there.
as you can see, I quite enjoy it. I love it. I think it's very important. Although I will say, recently I've noticed I've been going through my collection, and I'm like, I bought this DVD in 1999. I've watched it once. Why do I own it? I'm having a crisis. I'm like, why do I own this? It's like I don't get it, but I just like having it because with streamers they'll
Yes.
play something for 2 months and then it's gone forever. And I think
Mhm.
people that depend on those, they're like, I was gonna watch this movie, I put it on my watch list, but now it's gone. What am I going to do?
Yes.
And it's ridiculous.
Me and Aaron have movies we've had for like over a year, and it's still in the cellophane. We've never even
Yes,
taken it out. So it's just
yes.
it's the whole collecting sort of,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like you said, I think it's quite important. And
Right. Right. Or we'll go to put a new movie on the shelf and be like, damn it, I already own it.
yeah.
Oh, I did that once. I felt so ashamed. I was like, what have I done? What am I becoming? I don't even know what I own now. And my mom always told me when I was a kid, she said,
Mhm.
one day that's going to happen. You're going to buy the same thing twice because you don't keep track of it. I'm like, I need to have like a organizational thing.
There are apps
Aaron
where you
was
can
looking.
scan the barcodes of all your movies, but it would take
Really?
me forever.
That
Yeah.
seems like it would take a really long time.
It
I don't
would,
know if I
yeah.
have the time for
Yeah.
that.
Well, me and Aaron had a talk for like must have been nearly a week about a movie that I
Oh
needed to
yeah.
watch. And I was like, right, I'm gonna go and buy it. And I was looking for my films and I had it the whole time. And
Oh no.
I've not watched it. I didn't even know I had it.
Oh God.
Just how bad it is. It's like terrible. So terrible.
I think
But
we all have a sickness. We all do.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's a good
But
one.
it's not a bad one. I mean, there are worse things to collect. Okay, this is at
That's
least we
true.
probably do watch at least a good chunk of the movies we have every now and then,
Yeah,
maybe.
definitely.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Well,
So,
going back to or Ben, do you have a question? I'm sorry.
no. You go, man, and then I'll dig in with what I've got.
Okay. Well, like I said, I loved Blessed Are the Children, but we should probably get back to Children of Sin. I guess my question is, filming it now that it's done and it's out, what would you say was the most I don't know, the most memorable moment? What did you like the most, and what was the most challenging aspect of filming it?
Most memorable. That's a good one. I know I'll always remember the scene. It's about midway through the film, and it's one of the few scenes with just about everybody in the cast at the same time. It's a scene where they're all in the living room of Abraham House, and there's this demonstration of how to be a man, how to be a woman, and it's kind of an intense scene. And
Yes.
I was so terrified because I thought it's going to be tough for the actors. It's going to be a long day. We're all going to be tired and exhausted and depressed because it's just such a dark scene. And I remember we did the first take and it was going so well. And I called cut, and all of the actors had left and gone in the hallway because that's what they do at the end of the scene. And I was like, cut. And I waited, and they weren't moving. They weren't coming back. And I was like, cut, we're done. And I was like, where are they? And I went back there, and they were on the set in one of the rooms, and they were all on top of each other, just laughing and carrying on. They weren't disturbed at all. They were
That's
completely
awesome.
fine. And I was like, thank God. Now we can do 50 more takes, and I know we're going to be fine. That was exciting.
Very
The
cool. And that's a tough scene even to
It's very
watch.
tough. Yeah. And yet to shoot it was so great that everyone could just be very intense for the scene, and then immediately after it was cracking jokes and having fun, because I was so nervous. I was like, don't let that go off into the other parts of the day. I didn't want that. And
Yes.
the toughest parts were actually everything after Abraham House, all the stuff with um, Tammy and Robbie and that stuff, because as I said, we had an actor that dropped out, and so I
Mhm.
kind of had to rethink a lot of it. And the first day there, since the actor couldn't show up, we were like, well, we're here. We have our costumes, we have our props. Let's just shoot the stuff that we were supposed to shoot the next day. But I'd forgotten my shot list, so I was just winging it. I was like, I guess we're going to put the camera here for this scene. I don't know. And they didn't memorize their lines, so they were just like studying the lines. And so we were all just like, we're going to do this take together. But it was tough, but we got through it, and it turned out well. And it even rained in the scene. It wasn't supposed to. It was not planned, and it rained. And I was like, perfect. This was meant to be, totally meant to be.
Very
So
cool.
I was excited about that. So it was a tough day that turned out to be a positive day.
Good. Oh, that's a great answer.
Good thing.
Awesome.
Really good thing. So I watched Stranger Among the Living.
You got it right.
I'm gonna say,
Yay!
I'm gonna say, anybody who has a bad heart should not watch this film, because there was a lot of jump scares that got
Oh.
me quite a few times, and big respect and applause for that, because I
yay.
watch a lot of horror movies and they don't get me, but these jump scares did get me a lot.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
they were good. No, they were really good, and
That's cool. Mhm.
it was but it was all to do with how good of atmosphere you had with the film. So I will admit, when I first started watching it, I don't want to ruin for everybody, but it's like the dream at the start, and I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then he wakes up, and then as the film goes on a bit more, I was kind of like, what's going on again? But then there's like a twist in the film, and everything just comes together, and I thought that was so cleverly put together. So was it, when you was writing it, was it always going to have like the twist like that? Because it was all to do with like the premonition and the shooting
Right.
and everything. And I kind of thought it was going to go one way. And I watched it with my partner, and she was saying like, "Oh no, it's going to go this way," and it didn't. It went a completely
Good.
different way. So
Oh,
was it
yay.
always? Yeah, it was really good. So was it always good? Was it
Thank you.
always supposed to go the way that it ended up, or did that change?
That was a weird script, because I started to write it years before I actually made the film.
Okay.
And I had like about the first half of the script, and I got kind of stuck. And I still think you can tell that there's just there's an awkward break about midway through the film, and it almost kind of becomes like a different movie for a bit, and sort of gets a bit off track. But the goal was always to make a film that kind of just felt like a nightmare. It was just sort
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
it sort of makes sense in its own weird emotional way, but I
Yeah.
mean, narratively, there's some stuff that you're kind of like, what the hell is happening here? And so I kind of just wanted to do that. And so there's some stuff I would change if I were going to do it now. But looking back, I guess I set out to make a sort of a nightmare on film, and I
Yeah.
guess it sort of does feel like that. So I'm like, I guess it was a success in that sense. So.
Yeah, I just
Very
thought I
cool.
had a really good feeling. And there was the bit with, I quite liked where you see the nun, and she was really creepy and following him. And then later on, Jarvis's house, they explain, and he's working at the morgue, and he says about the nun coming in, and that's where it all starts sort of coming into play. And I really loved all that bit. And as you were saying about Jarvis's character, I thought he was quite fun actually.
Oh, good.
The way he was introduced, come into the meeting with like the box of chicken,
Right.
overly loud, talking over everybody. And yeah, as that progressed, he sort of became a bit more serious.
Mhm.
And again, it changed direction. I just thought it was a really well sort of kind of done sort of thing. So yeah,
Thank
good,
you.
big applause with that.
Thank you so much.
And
Awesome.
one other question, there was a lot of places. So you went to the bar, there was like Jarvis's house, there was the school, and all different places. How close were the locations that you filmed at?
Oh, okay, let me see. The bar and Jessica's house are pretty close. And I think most of the locations are kind of around the same sort of 10,
Okay.
15-mile area, except for the gas station and the Dream, and then that kind of comes back at the end. That was about 20 miles away.
Okay.
So that, yeah, I think that was probably the furthest one away.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it was I was just wondering, like there was a lot of different like places there. So yeah. But no,
Yeah.
all round, I thought you'd done a really good job with that film.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Aaron?
Actually, we have a question from a viewer of our channel.
Cool.
Fake of Voorhees asked, how do you go about setting up a new project? What are the initial phases?
Well, I've at any given time, I kind of think about in my head as kind of like a big kitchen with a bunch of crock pots. And there's like a bunch of them just lined up, and each one is a different idea. Some have just a few vegetables in there, some just have the broth, some have the meat in there. And it's sort of like whichever one starts to smell the best and seems the most ready to serve, I kind of take out and start to really make sure it's presentable. So it's like right now there's an idea I'm working on, hopefully trying to set it up probably in the next few months or so. It's
Cool.
getting to that point, and I'm on like draft number 3, so it's getting kind of real now, which is usually about when that's about the number of drafts it takes to finally look like a movie, because the first few were just like, ugh, they're horrible. They're really bad. It's like
Yes.
there's one good scene and a bunch of crap
Oh, of
around
course.
it.
Yes,
You
yes.
have to kind
But
of
once you finish that first draft, right, it's always such a rewarding moment, even though you
feel
know
so much better.
a lot of
Yeah.
it's crap. I'm gonna go back and fix it. But
Well, because at least you know you finally have it out. It's on the page. Some of it might not make sense, but at least you've just gotten it out of your head. So it's somewhere, and now you can kind of
Exactly.
tweak it and move this there and cut out that character, combine those characters. And
yes, yes. Well, then you have something to work
fun.
with, right?
Yeah, yeah.
At that point. He actually had a follow-up question. How do you secure financing and find actors and crew for your films?
Usually I write parts for people that I know. So I'm like, I think she would be great in this part, or he would be great in that part. And I'll just sort of offer them the parts first. And if there are certain parts I can't find yet, or I didn't really write for a specific person, then I'll have to post on like some sort of casting call site, and just sort of see who shows up. And then sometimes once someone comes in, I kind of change the parts for them specifically, because I'm just like, I can't find exactly what I wrote, but you come very close. So I'm just going to tweak this and that, and then you're going to just fit like a glove. In terms of financing, I mean, I keep my budgets very low. So I've never done like a like a GoFundMe
Like
thing.
Indiegogo
Although
or
I
GoFundMe,
probably
yeah.
should. I think one day I'm gonna give it a
Good.
shot. I'm just so terrified that like I'd be able to raise like $15 and I would just look really, really sad. And they'd be like, poor guy, he only raised $15. That's
There
depressing.
is that risk, but I don't think that
Yeah.
would happen to you, man.
I don't know. I mean, I've never done it, so I might just have to, swallow my pride and
Yeah, give it a
Yeah,
go.
yeah, give it a shot.
shot.
I agree. Well, speaking of which, I think her name is Kenny Bonds. Is that right?
Kenny Bounds. Yeah, yeah.
Kenny Bounds. Oh my God. My notes corrected it. Because I know you've casted her a lot. I thought
Mhm.
she was awesome in Blessed Are the Children, sort of the unexpected final girl. I
Right,
guess
yeah.
that's a spoiler. But then she's also amazing as the mother in Blessed Are the Children, right? You get sort of a flowers in the attic kind of feel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
was
yeah. Yeah,
Unexpected.
I worked with her in a group called the Detectives, and it's kind of this
Mhm.
sort of traveling comedy dinner theater thing, and go all over the southeast and do some shows and stuff. And that's how I met her. And
Oh,
and I was
awesome.
like, "You want to do a movie?" It was about like a year after we had met, I think. And she was like, "I've never done one," and I'm like, "I'll try to teach you." Well,
Nice. Yes. Well, she did a great job, and she has a new fan here.
oh,
Um,
fantastic! I'll have to let her know.
Please do. Let's see, Ben. Do you have any other questions? I got some fun ones to throw in at the end.
Yeah.
Here.
So I don't nick one of yours here. If you was given the chance to do I don't know, like a remake of any certain horror film or franchise, what would you
That's good.
choose? What would you go for?
Oh, that's easy. So easy because it's Curtains. There's a
Oh,
slasher
right.
film called Curtains. I've
Oh,
wanted to remake this since I was 14 years old. I am chomping at the bit to get to it.
that would be
yeah,
epic.
would
good.
love
I
to
bet
do
you
it.
would do a really good job with it.
I've got a whole concept. I've got the characters, but then I thought, that's not really a movie that has a lot of name recognition. Like it's not, like a Friday the 13th or something. So even
Yeah.
if you were to remake it, you wouldn't do it because of the name, because you just get like, I don't know, 1,000 people to come in that knew of that past film. So I've just kind of thought maybe I'll just kind of take what I was going to do with that and kind of do my own spin and call it something else, and just, I don't know.
Cool.
That's good. Yeah, I love the pond, right? The ice
Oh
skating
God,
scene,
it's unforgettable.
and Claire from Black
Really?
Christmas is one of the main
Yeah,
characters. Her name is
Lynn
escaping me.
Lynn Griffin. Yeah, she's
Yes.
fantastic.
She's in that. Yeah, it's one of
Oh, she's
a great
great in
role
that
for her.
movie.
Right.
Oh, that's a
Um,
fun one.
well, like I said, I have a couple fun questions. What is your favorite horror movie? See if we are aligned.
Carrie,
Oh,
easily.
that's a good one.
Carrie.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
Carrie.
Yeah, I always just go
My
with
favorite.
Halloween, and then
Oh well, I mean that has to be in
the
the top,
original,
top
top
5.
10, right? Yeah.
Gotta be.
Yes.
And that's the tough thing with that question, because I feel like it changes every week. Like
Mhm.
I'll watch something that I haven't seen in 10 years and just think, why is this not one of my favorite movies? It's so good.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh, it's just hard to just narrow them down. It's impossible.
Of course.
So tough.
Oh, come on, Ben, you got to throw yours in.
Yeah. Well, mine's we always have the discussion if it's a horror film or not, and me and Aaron's now decided that it is. But my favorite film's Jaws. So
I think that counts as horror,
I think so
technically.
too. Mhm.
Because I mean,
creepy.
there is that one big scare in the boat when he's going underneath and
and the head
there's that
pops out.
head.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I saw it once when I was a kid, loved it, and then they were playing it when I was at film school on the big
Mhm.
screen, and I hadn't seen it in years, and I didn't remember that part. And when I tell you, I shrieked so loud, people were turning and being like, "What is wrong with him?" I was so scared. So
That's
just for
awesome.
that one scene, I would say it's scarier than most horror
Do you
films.
know that
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
actually in the original film? So
Really?
he done a screening in Spain, and it wasn't there, and everybody watched the film and was clapping and stuff, and Steven Spielberg was like, I can get one more scare out of these people,
Oh,
and
that's
he put that
great.
in. Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah.
Oh, such a good call, because that scene is freaked me out.
Yeah.
Nice, great choice always. So you actually kind of answered this already. I like to ask, what are your new projects or what's new coming up? You said you have one coming out in a few months. Can you say anything more about it, or is it still? And if not, that's totally fine too.
I'm trying to think how to describe it. It is a horror film, but it's a sort of a family drama as well, I guess. And it is it's just about this mother and son who went through this really traumatic incident about 20 years ago, and they start to think that maybe this person who instigated all this horror to begin with has returned, and they're trying to figure out if it's real or if they're imagining it, and they're both kind of dealing with it in their own very unproductive, unhealthy ways, and so they kind of have to stop and fight the
forces
villain together.
Oh, the villain together. Oh, yeah, sounds good.
It's gonna be fun. It's more in the style of a kind of a Halloween-esque sort of a movie. So we'll see what happens. I don't know.
I'm sure it'll be awesome. Okay, one more fun question. Ben, do you have a fun question, or I'm going to jump in with mine?
No, you go for it, man.
What horror movie coming out in the next year or so are you excited to see?
Definitely Scream 6. Absolutely. I found the last one to be surprisingly good. I was very intrigued by it. And Evil Dead, sort of. I'm kind of curious to see where that's going to go.
Have you watched the trailer?
Trailer's great. I watched them both. They're both so different. I was like, wow, this is two completely different trailers here. It's not just like, this one has 3 more extra shots. It's like a fully different trailer.
It's hard to tell what it'll be like. Well, there's the new Exorcist trilogy that they're doing, but I heard Ellen Burstyn's coming back, which is kind of cool.
Well, I was intrigued, and then she gave an interview where she was like, over the years, people have come up and said, I want you to be in an Exorcist sequel, and I always turn them down, but this time I did it because they offered me a lot of money. I thought,
I didn't know that.
Say anything about, the script was great. How could you say no to this script? So that kind of makes me nervous, because I don't know. It might just be like a paycheck thing, and
she might just show
I wasn't wild about the last 3 Halloween, so I don't know. Not really a fan of those, so I don't know. But I'll still probably go see it because I'm a sucker for that.
Well, Megan is actually getting good reviews. I
just saw that this afternoon. It's quite delightful. I had a really good time. It's really fun.
How's the dance fighting scene actually?
It's fun. It's ridiculous. I mean, the whole film is ridiculous. I'm not going to say it's not scary at all, but it is so much fun, and I kind of want to go see it again.
Oh, cool.
It's ridiculous. I love it.
And I hear there's actually a gorier director's cut that might although I will say, surprisingly, you can't really feel the cuts. It does feel like it was made to be PG-13, but I think they had to go back in and do some reshoots to kind of bridge that gap a bit, because they've done that before with a lot of movies where it was meant to be R and then they cut it down, and you can tell. Like, I think that, what was it, the remake of Prom Night? I remember there were like, this character's like stabbed like 45 times and there's no blood. I was like, not even a drop? Like, what is going on? This is just lazy. It's magic.
So weird. Like, this is a very clean killer and a magic knife. Ridiculous.
Literally.
Oh, unbelievable.
Awesome. Ben, do you have any last?
I was just looking on my phone because you said it was a PG-13, and I was just wondering what it was.
Oh yeah, what is it in the UK?
Okay.
Because you have different ratings, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's not saying. I can't find it.
So isn't it like 15? Because you don't have the PG-13.
We do have PG-13s, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I don't know if that would be. I was just trying to see then. I was just wondering, because it's like me and you was on about this the other day, Aaron. It's kind of like we're a bit more, can't let the children see this.
No. Well, I mean, I think, don't y'all have like 12 and then
we
15
have 12
and then
15? Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it may go towards the 15 kind of.
Probably.
Well, there were some parts where I was kind of surprised it got through. Like there's a whole scene where like someone's stabbed with like a nail gun, and I was like, oh, like you actually see the nail go in. Like there's no blood that I can remember, but I did think, oh wow, they actually showed the nail going in. I was like, ooh, that's surprising for a PG-13 movie. But
push the envelope, right?
yeah, why not?
Mhm.
It's 2023.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Can handle
We've
it.
all,
They'll
we've
be
all
fine.
seen it, yes.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time
Yeah,
to talk with
you.
us. This has been
Thank you.
a lot of fun. Check out Children of Sin. Like I said, it's on Tubi. And check out Chris's other films if you haven't seen them. I think most of them are streaming or available to rent if you want to
I
watch
think
them.
I watched them on Plex.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
on
On
the,
Yes,
Plex.
Plex and Tubi, right. So if you go to IMDb and look up Chris, you can see each film tells you how you can watch it. And I guess just to wrap things up, like always, if there's anything else you would like us to cover in a future video, add a comment and we will consider it.
Yep, go over to Instagram, follow us over there, and then hit the like and subscribe on this video because it helps our channel. And big thanks to Chris again.
Thanks. It
Yes.
was a great
Awesome.
time.
Awesome. Okay, bye everyone.